One of the fiercest debates in modern sports discussion is whether or not student athletes should receive financial compensation beyond their scholarship. While this may sound like a reasonable idea, I'm going to tell you today why it won't likely happen, ever. This is why student athletes shouldn't be paid. The main reason why student athletes will never be compensated is because any system of compensating them is just too complex. When people talk about compensating student athletes, they usually use one of three systems: the flat fee system, the revenue-based pay system, or the personal brand system. So let's first begin with the flat fee system. So the flat fee system states that basically no matter what sport you play or what gender you are, you're entitled to the same flat fee. But before we go any further, let's think about who's actually going to be funding this financial compensation. It's either going to be the colleges or the NCAA. Those are the only two real options. And this is important because, as you'll see, there are 460,000 student athletes, and 176,000 of those are Division I student athletes alone. So let's just focus on the Division I athletes. If you were to give each of these athletes a $2,000 stipend for a year, that would be over $350 million every single year. So this brings us back to the question of who's funding the financial compensation for the athletes. And if you look at colleges all around the US, not many colleges are actually turning a profit with their athletic departments. Only 24 FBS schools are actually made a profit compared to losing money. And when you look at the NCAA, their budget is just over $900 million, which means adding another $350 million to that somewhere is not going to really work. So this leads to the next pay model, which is revenue-based pay, which means that sports like basketball and football who sell tickets and actually make money for the athletic department should be compensated, while non-revenue sports such as lacrosse, track and field, and diving will not be compensated. Okay, to simplify things, we're just going to be focusing on men's basketball because when you talk about revenue, you have to mention men's basketball. It brings in about 90% of the NCAA's total budget for the entire year.
With Perkins, Howells, one! Other teams in the state.
We all know the NCAA makes a killing off the tournament every year, but what many people don't know is about 96% of all the money collected actually goes back to the student athletes. The NCAA only takes about 4% to cover for their own salaries and costs and such. So while the NCAA is making hundreds of million dollars every year off the tournament, almost all that money is going back to the student athletes one way or another through scholarships, tutoring, and other services that the NCAA provides for them. The real problem I have with revenue-based pay is a little bit of a conspiracy theory, so put on your tinfoil hat because that's to do with inter-conference balance. The two conferences I'm going to look at are the Pac-12 and the Big West, which are essentially in the same geographic location on the West Coast. And if we look at the results from the 2017 March Madness tournament, the Pac-12 did pretty well, while the Big West did not so great. They had only one team in, and they were a 16 seed play-in, where UC Davis had to beat another team just to get into the actual bracket of 64. So my conspiracy theory is that if you have the revenue-based system, that student athletes from the middle-pack schools, from conferences such as the Pac-12, like your Washington State, Colorado, Cal, those teams, student athletes are going to leave those schools in order to attend worse conferences, such as the Big West, because they know that at least every year they have a shot of earning a few dollars in the NCAA tournament. And this is a problem because you have a lot of Pac-12 schools losing their players to worse conferences and teams that are bound for the NCAA tournament, like Gonzaga, who make it almost every single year in a much weaker conference. So I don't know if it makes any sense, but basically I could see a system where players from middle of the pack, big conferences, leave to go to smaller conferences just to make a buck in the NCAA tournament, and that creates the extremes of really good teams and really bad teams in each conference, and it destroys parity for the NCAA. The final pay system is the personal brand system, which got a lot of news coverage after the Ed O'Bannon case, in which the ex-UCLA basketball star Ed O'Bannon sued the NCAA for using basically his own likeness in pretty much the same person in their video game without giving him any financial compensation for doing so. And while Ed O'Bannon was able to shut down the NCAA video game, this really hasn't done much to address the issue of should athletes be able to use their own image and in particular autograph signing in order to generate revenue. And my big problem with this is slightly hypothetical, but it's also actually happening in real life where there's been documented cases. But let's say, for example, you're a top prospect quarterback and you're trying to decide which college you want to attend, and a certain college comes at you, or their booster club at that, comes at you and offers you a huge sum of money in exchange for either your autograph or an autograph deal to sign while you're at that college. And it's not actually people buying your autograph rather than them essentially just paying you to attend the school.
To the end zone, touchdown Maryland!
And this situation actually came up with O.J. Mayo at USC, who was offered money in order to come to the school, and with how schools recruit players and try to recruit and their alumni and all that, it happens, I'm sure, all the time that we just don't hear about. By no means do I think student athletes are undeserving of any financial compensation, but simply there's just no way to do it correctly and no way that would not end up with some corrupt system occurring. The only real way to benefit the students more is to keep offering scholarships and extend their benefits that they can already receive at their universities.